All right. I guess we can kick things off. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking time out to join us this evening. We have an interesting hour schedule, and I'm not going to be taking much of the time. We have a solid panel which will be talking to you about. I'm sure a lot of you have questions about what this double the bus is all about. But before we get into that, I wanted to, and before I invite Divya from CAG to set some context, I just thought it'll be good to, since we are talking about buses and we are talking about doubling the buses, I just pulled out some statistics on the number of buses that some of the other cities, and these are not just developed cities, some like one of these is a developing city as well. Like the buses that are there in those cities, and compared to that, I pulled out numbers for some of the cities in India. So London, population 9 million, runs a fleet of 8,800 buses. Singapore, population 6 million, runs 5,800 buses. Bogota in Colombia, population 8 million, runs 9,300 buses. And this includes SITP and the BRT network. Now, in comparison, Mumbai, population over 20 million, there are 3,000 buses. Kolkata population 15 million, and these are not updated. I mean, I'm sure the numbers are way more. Mumbai's population is more than, I think, around 21, 22 maybe, or even more. Kolkata 15 million, there are 1,300 government buses, and it says there are around 12,000 private buses, but in varying states of operation and condition. Chennai population, it says 11 million. I don't know what the current population is, but MTC operates around 3,400 buses. We'll get into more detailed and specifics. There are experts on the panel who will talk about these numbers, but this just gives you an idea of the gap that exists as far as the number of buses are concerned based on the population. So just to get us going, I would now like to invite Divya Arvind. Divya is working with CAG as a mobility and a safety, road safety researcher, and she's an architect as well as an urban planner. Divya, welcome and over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Brikesh. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. And like Brikesh mentioned, today's sessions we are going to focus on a very important part of our mobility network, which is buses. And across India, buses remain like the backbone of public transport for our citizens. And yet, despite their importance, buses is in most Indian cities are severely underrated and underinvested, and it's shrinking. So today we are going to talk more about it in detail about the Double the Bus initiative, which aims to highlight the urgent need to expand bus fleet across Indian city. So let us just begin by looking at the scale of the program. One of the biggest challenges facing Indian cities today is severe shortage of buses. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs recommend a minimum of 60 buses per lakh population for for cities in India. However, most cities fall far below these standards, as you can see in the graph on the right side. So cities like Bangalore, Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Delhi, despite having a large bus network, it still operates far below the recommended level. So before we move further into the solutions, it's important that we recognize the bus shortage is not just a transport problem. It also affects every aspects of our lives. So here are some news articles and reports that highlights the negative impacts of bus shortages. So across Indian cities, the lack of sufficient bus creates a daily challenge for commuters. For example, for many people, especially those who rely on public transport, and the experience of commuting can be like unpredictable and exhausting. And the problem is bigger than just a mobility issue. Over the years, bus frequency has reduced and service quality has worsened. While congestion on roads has increased due to the growing number of private vehicles, the result it results in overcrowded buses and unreliable services, and it also contributes to poor air quality as many people are forced to shift to their private vehicles. For many residents, especially for those coming from an economically weaker section, this impact is even more. So, and importantly, like when it comes to women and the elderly and person with disabilities, are often the ones who are most affected by this gap in public transport. So, Achyutan, just go one slide. Yeah. So lack of buses affects we have an example here, Miss Seema Patel, who's like a 62-year-old domestic worker in Mumbai. So every day she depends on buses to reach her work, but due to the shortage of buses, uh, the buses are often overcrowded. It becomes very unreliable for her daily commute. It affects both her work, health, and finance. Moving on, the solution is having more buses. That's the only solution we have now. So buses are like cost effective public transport mode. The capital cost of the buses are also far lower than rail based solution, making them like one of the practical solution for rapid growing cities in India. And unlike many large transport projects, buses do not require massive new infrastructure since roads and bus stops already exist. And more buses also means fewer private vehicles on road, which helps to reduce congestion and also air pollution. So having more buses help people like Satish Kumar, who is a wheelchair user based out of Chennai, and he shared that he took almost 557 rides on Chennai low floor buses within 8 months of its launch. So it tells like how bigger of an impact simple buses creates on people like him. And after the and this happened only because of the launch of low floor buses. And moving on, so the initiative has already begun. We are recognizing the importance of buses, and a national-wide citizen movement has already begun. So on September 22nd, 2025, on a World Car Free Day, citizens across multiple cities in India gathered at bus stops to take part in the bus. Double the bus initiative, as you can see in the pictures. These are from like Delhi, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai. So it's just the idea behind this campaign is simple, but it's also powerful. It builds a strong narrative that highlights the urgent needs to invest in buses across the country by bringing in citizens and organization and mobility experts. And the campaign also aims to amplify the message for a better bus network, and the movement is growing bigger since the launch of this double the bus campaign. So 21 cities across 9 states joined in the first round of the campaign, and around 110 pledges were made from different organizations and institutes supporting the call to strengthen the overall bus network. So this shows the demand for better public transport is and it's not limited to just a few cities, and it's also a national wide concern. S- Next slide, please. However, to make the real impact, the movement needs more voices and stronger collective advocacy. This is where you all come in. So I want you all to take this opportunity to scan the QR code and be the voice of your own city. You can also learn more about Double the Bus campaign by visiting the website. And I think that's all I have to say about this campaign. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Divya, for
Thank you,
setting the
Harish.
context. And now I'd like to invite our panel for the discussion. So first and foremost, we have Suraj, who is working with ITDP as a program manager for transport systems and electric mobility. Then we have Shweta, who's a senior program associate with Parisar and based out of Pune. And then we have Srinivas Alavalli, who's a fellow with WRI and works on integrated transport and road safety. Thank you very much, Shweta, Suraj, and Srinivas. And I'm sure a lot of people who are on the, who are listening in and have tuned into the webinar will have questions about what is this double the bus and how can I be a part of it, and why are they only talking about doubling and not tripling or quadrupling. So we'll get into all those questions, but the first question straight away, Srini, I want to come to you. Can you tell us what the double the bus campaign is all about and how it all started? Srini, if you're speaking, I think you're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. No, I'm thrilled to be part of this webinar. This is, in our world, there is a lot of discussions that happen, and we have what we call group activities and brainstorming for world transforming ideas and things like that. This came out of one such thing. A few people sitting around a table in one of the event, and I'm glad to see all of them still around in this webinar also. That how do we bring the voice of bus users to the fore? That is the thinking behind it, and that's how this whole thing has started. And the idea is that there is not enough buses, as the presentation is very amply presented, and we don't need any presentation, right? All of us that are bus users or bus enthusiasts already know that if you are using a bus, you are still struggling to get that bus, you're waiting, and you, after waiting for a while, then a crowded bus will come in, and then you feel frustrated. And as you wait in bus stops, you can see a lot of people checking their apps. Should I book an auto? Should I get someone to pick me up? Things like that, right? And those are the people that are losing trust in. So taking the bus should not be a tax, should not be a pain, but it should be a pleasant experience. How do we do that, right? So that is where this whole thing has started. And how do you get everyone's attention? We need to get everyone's attention by surfacing the voice of the bus user. So that is why double the bus. Like Brikesh said, we are a very argumentative society. So why double the bus? Why not triple the bus? So we love when someone says that, because that means they're they're kind of resonating with the idea, and they're saying double the bus is not enough. We need more than that. That's what we are also saying. We say double the bus and then double it again, right? So that's a recursive kind of program we are writing here. So let's see where this goes. We are trying to build a national level support of this campaign. We hope to get a lot of people to come together and work on it. As we go forward in this webinar, we'll discuss various aspects of it. Thanks, Prakash.
Thanks a lot, Srini. Just for following on the same question, I'm coming to you, Shweta. So when we say double the buses or double the bus, what exactly are we asking for? If you can just throw some light on that.
Right. Yes. So I think Srinivas really always talks about the campaign in a very nice way and summarizes everything. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that when we say double the bus, we are actually looking at an umbrella term. I think when we were also sort of brainstorming on the name, I think we came to this because these three words sort of summarize a lot of what is going on in our cities, and it just shows that in all of our cities, without looking at the data also, our city seems to be struggling with working with whatever they have, and that is clearly not enough. So the main point over here, the operative word over here, is that if you don't have enough buses, whatever else you do, you do route rationalization, you paint your buses brightly, or you have very good drivers and conductors, that's not going to help. You are going to need buses, and that is where we are really, really focusing on. That being said, of course, the sort of discussion on doubling it, tripling it is one thing. But what it really means, what we really want to do with this campaign is two things. One is, of course, the policy level or the governance level push that is there, that buses need more money, buses need more allocation, and buses need more priority. That is the policy level that we are trying to do. But there is also a very important aspect of this in terms of bus users not being vocal enough. I think the idea of this campaign is also to have this vocalization of bus users, for us to have ground level activities in each city for whatever it is worth, and in terms of whatever suits your city, not having a template, each city is different, and just every city sort of coming out with its bus users and coming in with the demand that we need more buses. So it's something that is very, very broad in nature, which is summarized in these three words, which every person anywhere in India is going to understand, because double everybody understands and bus everybody understands. So yeah.
Thanks, Shweta. That's very simply put and explained. And I want to come to Suraj, because everything is, I mean, we don't take much time straight jumping into the numbers and statistics. So, Suraj, I mean, it's been established that none of the cities in India have the number of buses that are required. So, but if you can actually shed some light on where does India stand today on bus infrastructure, like how bad is the gap?
Yeah, okay. So to talk about that, I definitely think that like most of the cities don't have a assessment framework itself to measure the bus shelter infrastructure, right? So I think we need more such kind of parameters based on which, like for deployment of buses, like there should be audits that needs to be done to assess the quality of the infrastructure that is already there. What kind of major improvements that needs to be brought in so that the passenger comfort in these bus shelters are also improved in terms of even like identifying the routes which are there, the kind of signages that needs to be placed in, whether the shelter is easily accessible, right? As per the MOHUA norms, like we also have this walkability distance, right, of 400 meters within which we need a bus shelter to be placed. So all of these things are actually translating and getting implemented on the ground is something that needs to be seen, like for all the future programs also that are coming in. Yeah.
And if you can also share a little bit about, Suraj, like, is the problem just numbers of buses, or like there are other issues as well, like quality of the buses or routes and who the buses actually serve?
Definitely, because so like clear gap is there in terms of like all cities. Where if you see some of the big major cities, there used to be good public infrastructure like bus infrastructure earlier, which had gradually been dipping down because there has been shortage of supply of buses, because of which people gradually then transition to private mode. Now the challenge is that many of the cities are reprioritizing buses, but the challenge becomes to bring these people back to buses. So that's where we need more detailed studies to inform the operators themselves that okay, these are routes wherein there is more catchment of people that can be brought in, right? In case of Chennai, like we have been doing this people near transit study that looks at for different kind of activity centers, be it employment, college, schools, right? So across all these separate verticals, how are people moving within the city, and what kind of accessibility is already there, and whether even the walkability parameters are being met to reach to these bus stops. So these are some things that we have been critically studying and informing the government agencies as well on how to improve this infrastructure as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Suraj. We'll just take the conversation a little forward, and for the benefit of our listeners who've maybe now curious to launch this campaign in their own city. I'm sure they have a lot of questions. The most important is, if the demand is doubling the bus fleet, it's not going to fall from the sky. Buses run on the street because there is a complex ecosystem which makes it happen. Someone has to sign off on that. So Srini, I'll come to that to know a little bit more on. So who actually, let's say if we want to double or triple or increase the bus fleet in any city, who has the power to add more buses in our city, and who is accountable when the fleets shrink? just so that people get an idea from a campaign point of view that if you're demanding something, who has the power and the money to give you that demand? Srini.
No, that's a great question. And the thing is that how the public bus systems run in India is a story of, the diversity, right? Just like we have different states having different approaches to governance, we also have different systems. In Hyderabad, for example, TSRTC is called. In Bengaluru, it is BMTC, which is a part of the transport department. In both Telangana and Karnataka, the bus system is owned and run by the transport department, headed by a transport minister. So they're running in the city, but they're under the Ministry of Transport, which reports into the state government, government of Telangana or government of Karnataka. This situation changes dramatically in other states. In Gujarat, the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation owns the bus corporation, the AMTS or the AJL or the Janmar BRTS. Both BRTS and AMTS are part of the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. So if you want to buy 10 buses, the budget for the 10 buses will come from the AMC budget, the municipal corporation budget. If you want to buy 10 buses in Bengaluru, that comes from the government of Karnataka budget, state budget. And there are slightly different models in other states, but broadly, it's either the city corporation or the state government. So, because the state government sits at the state and not directly answerable to the city, the accountability goes missing a lot of times. Because when the people are elected to the municipal corporations, the councillors and all of them are closer to the people. So, if the people in a ward elected a councillor and they're not happy with the bus services, they have somebody to go and complain to, and that elected representative can make your voice heard in the council meetings, standing committees, so on and so forth, and include it in the upcoming year's municipal budget. That is one way of doing it. Other way of doing it is aggregating the voices of bus commuters or bus users and then bringing it to the notice of the transport minister. In urban governance model of India, the mayors are pretty powerless, as we all know already. Barring few states, mayors don't have much powers. So it's really the MLAs and the state government officials, in this case, mostly transport department, principal secretary in the transport department, and the minister of transport. These are the key players. Now, you cannot expect to engage with the transport minister. So the person that you are supposed to engage with is your closest elected representative in that tier of government. If something is about railways, you go meet your MP, right? MPs can address your railway issues. You want to stop, you want more trains, you want more compartments, whatever it is, the MP is your right person to engage. So MP can go right to the railway minister or bring up in Lok Sabha and so on and so forth. The similar equivalent thing is MLA. The members of Legislative Assembly, they have one job. Their job is to make policy at a state level. And if the buses are run by the state government, they need to raise that demand. If the citizens are not telling the MLA every day that we need more buses, the MLA sits quiet. He doesn't do anything. She won't speak in the assembly and nothing happens. So, in my view, this kind of thing has happened for too long. And yet, the irony is that there are so many people that use bus. Few people use some other mode of transport, but they're very vocal on social media and they get covered in the mainstream media. And therefore, their voice becomes very important in making decisions. That's how you end up with so many flyovers and so many other investments. Nothing wrong with that, but if you're putting so much money into public infrastructure, mobility infrastructure, shouldn't that be put into a mode of transport that is carrying lakhs of people? That is a fundamental problem here. So together we all have to think, put our heads together and figure out how do we convey this demand of bus users to policy level, budget allocation, all of that. And there are a lot of social, economic, and there is a stigma to it. In the next round of conversation, we can get into that. But fundamentally, if I have to sum it up, the decision makers pay lip service to bus users. They claim to be the friends of buses or they support buses, but actually their actions don't match the words. They are not allocating the funds or thinking about the welfare of the bus users. taking the bus issues very lightly and let them suffer. If they have to wait for more buses, they wait, because I am not the bus user. Nobody I know is using the bus. So this is why we are where we are. To go back to your original question, I would squarely target the MLAs to raise this demand and go into the state budget. In the cities or states where the municipal corporation runs buses, the municipal commissioner and the mayor are the places to go to.
Thanks, Srini. Since you mentioned budget and finances, I just want to do a quick, direct question related to budget. Uh, is doubling bus fleets actually affordable for state governments?
Is building roads affordable for state governments? Right? We seem to be building tens of thousands of road kilometers every year, maintaining them, creating potholes and fixing them, and so keep on that economy. We all know, right? We are all people that have some degree of understanding of how public spend happens. So the if you do a cost benefit analysis of let's say a metro and a bus, the cost per kilometer of building a metro would be at least 10 times more than the cost of bus. It will be more than that depending on the city. So the way you make when you're spending money for bus or road, you are spending public money, right? You are spending public money, right? Is does the government afford to make more schools? Does the government can afford to build more hospitals? It can always afford to, because education and health are fundamental to this. Public transport is very much in the same zone, Brikesh. Public transport is essential public service. What is the point of a government if it cannot allow the people to move about freely? It's a right to livelihood, right to access to education, access to healthcare. All of that is rolled into one. Bus is this magical creature. Any policy person will immediately admit to it. The benefits, the cost of bus is so tiny compared to the benefits that accrue over a period of time. In Bengaluru, after the Shakti scheme has been introduced for women, the bus ridership went overnight in a matter of weeks from 33 lakhs per day to 45 lakhs per day. That's how big bus ridership has increased. Now, even without Shakti scheme, 33 lakh trips were happening, right? That means almost 15 lakh people were using the bus. Now, if you're running a city, let's say you're in charge of a city and 15 lakh people are using a particular service. Now, how much are that people worth? What kind of public investment would you make towards that? So we have to change the conversation into that language and think about it from a point of view of the benefits. The benefit of bus is often measured as how many tickets are sold. Oh, our corporation is at loss, bus department is at loss. This word profit loss is a completely broken metric to understand the effectiveness of bus. Okay, because of the bus, the congestion reduced. How much profit is that? Because of bus, pollution reduced. How much profit is that? Because of bus, so many young women have now gone to college. Therefore, they have obtained a degree, they have obtained a better job. What is the profit of that? This is the cumulative profit of a bus, not the number of sold on a given day. Unfortunately, our economists and all the gurus don't calculate any of this. Oh, BMTC operational expense 200 crores, ticket revenue 180 crores, so 20 crores loss. They declare like that. So why am I investing more buses when I'm in loss? Who will invest in a business that creates losses? So as long as the thinking of profit loss is like that, you will never invest in it. But if you think that by spending 100 crores on bus, I got 1000 crores of profit with all these things that I've talked about, then it becomes a no-brainer. If any of you become a transport minister, you'll immediately sign on doubling the buses. I have no doubt about it, right? So we just don't have the right people sitting in the right chair taking this call, and somehow the conversation around bus is always rooted around it's for the poor, and we have this very attitude towards, okay, if they are poor they have to suffer, so let them suffer in the bus that doesn't come. So that's the kind of attitude that we are in. That's why the quality of buses, so many things that are all related to this, right? The
Thanks.
quality of metro will be great, but quality of bus, it's okay if it is old bus, no problem, kind of thing, right? So we have to move out of all of these things.
Thanks a lot, Srini, and that's very well put actually. In terms of the investments that are being made on roads and tunnel roads and flyovers or metro compared to buses, which actually ply a lot more people. There's just one question about the barriers which I want to come to Suraj, and then we'll move to buses as an intervention or a climate solution. But Suraj, I mean, what according to you are the barriers that stop cities from investing in more buses? I know it sounds like a very easy question, but it's not that simple. So if you can just throw some light on like what according to you are the main barriers that are stopping cities from investing in more buses.
Like, first of all, like I definitely feel like what continuing to what Srinivas was talking about, like in various cities and states, like the governance structure works in a very different manner for buses, right? So in some places it's the cities that fund for it, in some places it's the state that fund for it. So based on that, like it's a like for a city, the priority might not be buses, right? Their first priority is to look at their own municipal level or urban local management itself. So after that only like they'll be prioritizing the funding towards buses and to budget set aside budget for that itself. In case of Chennai, like one model that worked out well was the PTSE service contract, the transport service contract with World Bank, which had like very performance linked deliverable that the Metropolitan Transport Corporation had to achieve. So every funding that was coming through the bank itself, like the MTC had to meet certain parameters, and the rollout of the buses also had to be ensured. So for that, like a good case was that the city developed a business plan. So as part of the business plan itself, it was targeted like by 2033, almost double, like the city needs to have double its fleet. And all that parameters is being met right now. And MTC is currently in a very good pace with rolling out a lot of buses. And we see a tremendous change also happening in the city. Yeah.
Thanks, Suraj. I want to slowly, I mean, transition to talking about buses as a climate solution. So transport is one of the biggest contributors as far as, if not the biggest, one of the biggest contributors as far as emissions is concerned. We know cars have become extremely aspirational, but our good old buses continue to be play the role of climate heroes, but the numbers are declining. So Shweta, I want to come to you about the like how significant is bus expansion as a climate intervention, and are we underestimating, like Srini did touch upon a little bit when he was talking about the economics and affordability, that a lot of things that increasing bus fleets will do are not even being looked at or calculated. So are we underestimating its potential impact, Shweta?
Yeah. I think Srinivas, I mean, has the thread of a lot of these answers. He started a lot of these answers. And when it comes to climate, uh, it's again trying to look at it a little broadly. What you see, I mean, there is enough data to say that, investment in buses and buses in general, and just the per capita footprint of a person traveling by bus compared to a person traveling by a car or a two-wheeler, all that data is there that buses are, effective in terms of climate change. And more buses you have, lesser will be the climate change and the pace of it. That all of that data is already there. What we lack, again, as Srinivas has pointed out, is the clarity of it. So when you ask me whether we are underestimating the role of buses as also a media for climate change impact, the answer is a simple yes, because on paper we have all of these things. Even our nationally determined contributions say that by 2070 we are going to be a net zero country, whatever. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of nuances in that. But a large part of that is actually the bus fleet. And very, very trying to break it up a little bit, when you say you want to increase your bus fleet, it is important to understand that what happens when you increase your bus fleet is that more buses are on the road. You can do a lot more things using those buses. It means that people will have to wait lesser times for the bus. It'll be more reliable, it'll be more affordable, it'll be more comfortable also, if that much attention goes into it. And that means that more people will shift from their private vehicles to the bus. I think that very simple connection of more buses and climate change needs to be established in the minds of decision makers. It's not, I think we should go beyond the discussion of buses reducing climate change and basing it on electrification of buses, the bus fleet. It is, of course, a very important part when we think of climate change, that the buses, I think most of the focus in India right now is electrifying the bus fleet, and that is what the climate change and buses discussion mainly focuses on. But I think we need to go beyond that and say that whatever form that the cities are in, whatever their bus requirements are, the main thing is for them to have those requisite number of buses according to the standards. And the main thing is for more people to shift from private transport to using those buses. And whatever it takes for them to do that, that is what will actually impact the climate change narrative of it.
Thanks, Shweta. Just a follow-up question. You did mention net zero, and this is, I mean, you can take a shot at it, but I invite Suraj or Srini as well. We have a net zero target of 2070, and one can reach that net zero by doing a whole bunch of things. You get to read about renewables, you get to read about a little bit about decentralized rooftop solar, you get to read a lot about electrification, but I haven't read anything about increasing the bus fleets to contribute towards this net zero target. Like, so are we, I mean, if we are missing the bus on the roles that buses can play as far as reducing emissions is concerned, why is that happening? And what needs to be done to make sure that, you know, the government fills this gap? I mean, any of you?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that the way you have actually put it across, that kind of an understanding does not come across when they talk of the NDCs. They are majorly talking about electrification, and electrification also includes electrification of two-wheelers, of private vehicles, of cars, of trucks, and diesel vehicles. So that focus on buses is not very, very evident when we come to talk about electrification and climate change and public transport. So yeah. But I'm sure Suraj will be able to sort of elaborate more on that.
Yeah. So Vikesh, I remember one data point wherein, for the 2030 target as well, for buses, the target is set for around 40% electrification, but it's still not even reached to the quarter of it, right? Like we are almost close to 2030, and even with a lot of schemes like the PME Drive and PME Bus Seva that is going to get rolled out, we need cities to themselves become more proactive in getting and making use of these kind of fundings to really ramp up their bus infrastructure. But what you are saying, that there are some targets that India has set aside for buses as well. It's just that we need more citizen engagement to for the cities themselves to take more action and to roll out these initiatives very efficiently.
Thanks, Suraj. Srini, anything to add on that?
No, I mean, it's pretty obvious. If a bus can replace 40 cars, a bus can replace emissions of 40 cars. Electric bus can make that into zero, right? So you have a huge disproportionate advantage to make. Like you pointed out, the share of transport in urban emissions, air quality, the source, what are the sources of air pollution? Construction dust is a source, road dust is a source, and open waste burning. These are all different things that contribute to pollution. You go to any city, the top three contributors will be transport because of the rising number of vehicles in our city. India is a growing economy. People are aspiring to own their own vehicles. Nothing wrong with that. We should encourage that. But it also comes with a ticket, which is the emissions that pile up and up and up. So while you can address some of it with the electrification of personal vehicles, as they say, a cat is a cat, whether it's a black or white. So whether it's an electric or petrol, it's still a car and it takes up the space and creates a congestion and all of the other things. So, but whereas a bus has this double, win-win situation. First of all, you take a bunch of vehicles off the streets, and then therefore you eliminated their emissions, and you have centrally, like for example, the Bengaluru bus depots. Most of the bus depots are now solar. and they're all setting up the EV infrastructure. And they are, still early days, long way to go. Bangalore, I think, has the largest EV fleet there. It's a tight race between Delhi and Bangalore at the moment, but more and more schemes and policies are veering towards the bus corporations going towards it. It makes a lot of sense for buses to be electric a lot more than cars, because a car in Bangalore will travel 15 kilometers and sit in a parking lot for free all day and then come back in the evening, right? But a bus is not like that. A bus is taking thousands people every day up and down all the time. So therefore, you're reducing a lot of emissions. So if you do any calculations of emissions based on a fleet of bus with EV, without EV, the result will become very apparent. So there are many reasons to increase the bus fleet and make a lot of it. I'll also say this: adding buses doesn't mean get electric buses. Get any bus. Getting any bus is more important than sticking and waiting for the electric bus to magically appear. Getting electric buses is a challenge in its own. There is an infrastructure, there is a supply issues, there are all kinds of issues. It's still a new technology that's slowly coming into our cities. So getting buses should be more important, and getting electric buses will be an icing on the cake.
Thanks, Srini. That's a very important point that you made. I mean, that's which is not just important for citizens or RWAs or active citizen groups, but even civil society organizations. I know there are a lot of groups working on electrification of the fleet, but the stark reality is that we just don't have enough buses. So whether it's a diesel bus or a petrol bus or an electric bus, if there are more buses on the road, it will eventually, have a lot of benefits. So I wanted to move into the last section of our webinar, where I want to talk about the role that citizens and civil society can play. But before that, just wanted to come back to you, Srini, on how does a bus shortage hit everyday commuters, especially those with no other option? And I'm sure there are a lot of people, even on this call, are not aware. I mean, some of us still use buses, some do not, but it has far-reaching implications. So before we go into the action point of what each one of us or institutions or civil society groups or RWAs can do, if you can just share a little bit on how does a bus shortage hit everyday commuters, and especially those with who have no other option but buses as their primary mode of transport.
It's like this. There is a term called daily workers, and there's a reason for it, because the wages depend on the time you put into it. If you're not getting a bus, you're not reached your work site, spend less time working, you lost wages. Delay in a bus actually means delay in your earnings for the day. That's the most stark reality. Delay in a bus could mean missing your school or an exam, right? For many people, parents take vacation and to drop their children at the exam center, wait with bated breath outside the exam center to pick them up after the test and all. For millions of our kids, that's not the case. They have to reach the exam center. Even if they're studying in a government school right next to their house, the exam center can be 5 kilometers away, 10 kilometers away. So this is how it hits a lot of our population in a very, very different way. And many of us, the privileged ones, are unfortunately blissfully unaware of it. Not that we don't understand it, but we don't have experienced that kind of feeling. So therefore, there's no empathy towards it. But there is also a problem in framing this as an issue of low-income workers or people that have no other modes. The more we do that, I'm afraid that the more we're stigmatizing or creating this bus as a vehicle for the poor, and therefore let me stay out of it. If you and I stay out of the bus because it's crowded, that's one thing. But if the budget makers stay out of bus, that's a serious problem, right? Why should the people who is paying for the bus, the same people that are waiting for the bus and missing the bus, are paying for it? We also have these notions of income tax and who is the taxpayer. The person who is taking the bus and is also paying tax every single day with whatever meager income earnings she or he has. So it is owned by everybody. It's a shared resource, that the benefits of the shared resource are for everyone. If everyone takes buses, the people that are playing in the ground and the children that are walking, the seniors, they'll also benefit from it, from the streamlining of it and all of that. So it is really nuanced thinking that we need. It's actually quite obvious, but because there's a certain stigma attached to it, and there's also a lot of people who think that, oh, I'm a student, so I have no other choice. I have to take a bus to. Okay, now that I got my job, I have to get. A lot of women think that, okay, bus is not comfortable. I've been harassed in a bus. It's very crowded, and I'm not comfortable. The moment I stand on my feet, I get my job, I'm going to get my own vehicle. I'm never going to step into it. So that happens because the bus is crowded. That happens because you waited for a long time. So if you take that away and you make a bus a pleasant experience, like it is in other modes, then people love to come in a bus. Bus is magic. It's a stress-free. Like some of my friends say, it's like having a 1 crore vehicle being driven by chauffeur. You just sit back and read your book or listen to your music. Why wouldn't you do it? A lot of people do it. You see the occupancy of buses in Bengaluru. You see a lot of construction workers and you see a lot of laptop bags. Both are there, very much there, and this is the situation in many cities of India. But somehow when we the mainstream narrative about buses, oh, it is for a certain section of people. That certain section of people are also citizens, and it is for all sections of people. If you actually pump money into the bus, then you are taking thousands of crores to create a traffic free metro. Why is metro fast? Because metro is not stuck in traffic jam, but bus is stuck in the same traffic jam. Why is that, right? So we have to think through all of these kind of things and then get into that. It's, yeah. So I saw the comment about pollutants.
Yeah.
See, I'm not trying to defend that all the bus systems are great and they are amazing and they are super. No, there are a lot of issues with the bus systems, the way they operate, the routes they don't change. They tend to go to a certain part of the city and not understand how the dynamics of travel patterns are changing. They don't have proper IT systems to know the live tracking of. There are 100 things we can systems better, but that's at a different level. Getting more buses is at a more fundamental level. If you get more buses, all the other things will also come into picture.
Thanks, Srinu. We have 10 more minutes to go, and I have three more questions. So that nicely places us into the next and the last section of the webinar. So a couple of times you touched upon this very important aspect of mobility, of uh, buses being a public good. Uh, and the way governments are looking at buses being a profit-making venture, which is a wrong way to look at it. And from a public narrative point of view, the way we see people getting angry if they don't get clean water, or if they don't get regular supply of electricity, or if the food that they buy is uh, very polluted or whatever, adulterated. There is a lot of hue and cry, but we don't get to see that when it comes to buses, right? It's just there is a sort of a sense of a surrender that, oh, what can we do? So this is where I want to this campaign also comes in, because it's a very inclusive, anyone can join, and I want to hear from you, Shweta. What can citizens or institutions or resident welfare associations, civil society organizations actually do to push this agenda or demand forward?
Right. Yeah. So there are a lot of things. And I think even when we conceptualize this campaign, we discussed that, there are many things that citizens can do on ground. And each city should sort of build on its own strengths and try and do all those things. I think just from the experience of Pune, what we've sort of been seeing is that you definitely need a driver for these kinds of things. You need a organization, or you need somebody who's really passionate about buses to drive this whole thing. Because as you said, there are at any given point of time, so Pune has around 12 lakh bus users. But when there was a fare hike, we could not really get anybody to come and protest in front of PMPML. I mean, that's the irony of all of it. And I think that is something that we really want to focus on in the Double the Bus campaign. That there are many people who are using the bus. It's just a matter of trying to make them feel and trying to make them trust again that if they raise a voice, it will be responded to. I think getting that back is important. In terms of specifics, how do you actually get this done? So I'd also again like to use an example from Pune itself. Around 2 years ago, we launched a campaign for a mobile app for PMPML. And the way we did it was that we, of course, spoke with PMPML, we discussed with them, we shared a couple of ideas with them, but we also got that demand sort of traction from different bus stops in Pune, where we asked people that if there is an app, will it help you? How will it help you? What will it do? And that's why we launched a proper campaign which says app kara bus kara. And that is how, after 2 months of that campaign, we really got that app. It might be that that was already in the pipeline, but it is nonetheless true that that push from the citizen side, that voice from the citizen side, the bus commuter side, definitely helps to push that particular thing. So in any case, how much of a small we think our particular effort is, I think it's important to do that, and it's important to put it out. There was another very interesting thing that also sort of links this profit and loss thing and also citizen action. So there's an area in Pune called Sahkar Nagar. They got to know that one of their buses is being cancelled because it is not making profit. The same logic that nahi hai, profit nahi ho raha, to band kar do. That is the sort of process by which bus services generally work by. The citizens decided that let's do one thing. Let's just book tickets on the app, even if we are not traveling by that bus, for that bus route, so that you have enough passengers so that that bus route can be saved. So there are a lot of innovative things that people can do if they are made to believe that your effort and your voice is going to count. So there are a number of things. I think Brikesh, at many points you have said things like let's do flash mobs on buses, let's do things where people are doing art and culture on buses. These things seem like very disconnected, or how is it going to help? But just the matter of keeping the conversation on buses alive, making it this romantic thing, even though it is not, it is a very everyday, practical, very, very necessary thing for a lot of people. But that narrative and that thing of buses, the nostalgia of it, the reality of it, and just keeping it in the conversation all the time for different things. It can be data, it can be experience, it can be just a specific user group saying something about it. All of this is very important for that commuter voice to be heard.
Thanks, Shweta. And I saw Srinu smiling when you were giving that example of people booking, using the tactic of booking tickets on the app. So this is where I want to come to you, Srinu, because you also have a history of running a few very successful public campaigns. So if you can speak to, because Shweta did touch upon it a little bit, that it is important for citizens to take action, however small it is. So, but what would it take? Like, how do you turn a campaign into a real policy change, that it results just signatures into actual bus orders? If you can talk about that a little bit, and then finally I'll come to you, Suraj, with a question.
No, I mean, the thing is that we live in a different world now, right? We live in a world where media headlines are made out of a small 30-second video on Twitter, and Instagram posts, making ministers replying to it or creating new policy and all that. So we have to fully take advantage of it instead of being sucked into the doom scrolling and stuff like that, right? So we have to leverage the modern tools of pressure building tactics. We don't need to have 1,000 people sit in dharna anywhere. Don't quote me on it, but the time for that is there, and it comes for certain things. For something like this, you don't need to do that. You need to surface the demand in innovative, creative ways, and you need to do it together. The reason I love this whole double the bus campaign, the way it has come together, is that you mentioned at the beginning that 21 cities in it. Well, there are 498 municipal corporations in India. There are 8,000 towns and cities, urban local bodies in India. All of these cities, many of the cities don't have city bus services. Maybe the corporations do. In all the corporations, if we raise the demand of doubling the bus, and if someone says why double, that's a win. When someone says why double, don't feel defensive. Take it as a great opportunity to explain the shortage in buses. If someone says you don't need double, you need little less than double, accept it. If that's the fact and that's the argument, if the city of Bengaluru right now has 4,500 buses coming in, we have 7,000 right now. The thing about bus is that as you buy more buses, old buses will keep disappearing. So it is not a fixed asset that you have. So a lot of people don't count the buses that are retiring or going away. So there's a certain thinking about that. And then bus is a form factor, all of those things. But in a citizen movement kind of model, right? Very simple, Prikesh. First, if you're a bus user, make everybody know about it. The more you people you see that, oh, your friends are bus, I make it a point to say that I found the bus, I looked at the app and the bus was closed it. And do silly things like, okay, instead of taking cab, I took bus, I saved 300 rupees, now I'm donating it to charity because I was going to pay 300 for the cab, now I am not. Right? So this kind of things make people think and trigger and create things like that. In Bengaluru, someone called Sahana started Bus Reads. She started a group where people get on bus to read a book. Like the urban reads, go to a park and read a book. Now they're reading book in buses. There are so many communities as metro started developing. They started creating route maps for buses. Sir, can we have a bus so that we can feed into the metro? So it goes to a level where the bus company sends a bus for a trial run and inform the citizens, come, we are doing a trial run, all of you get in the bus. Let's see the route, whether it works or not. When I see some, and before that, why did the BMTC run the trail run? Because 300 people signed on a petition saying we need a feeder bus. We are all residents of this area. Here is the route. So when the officials see that kind of public engagement, they feel obligated to act on it. If you give generic statements like give me more buses, it'll be like, okay, yet another slogan. But you need to get involved at a local level. And at a national level, what you guys are doing, Brikesh and Asar and SMN, all of you guys, connecting the energies of multiples. If so many cities are raising the slogan of double the bus in the same day in India across cities, it will get picked up. Soon it will get picked up by the national electronic media, print media, and all of that. That is the stage that we need to reach to convert the voice of bus users into the priorities for policy making. It's a long way out. That's why this webinar is so important because whoever is part of it, in their city, if there is no double the bus team or double the bus interest, we need you, right? You should be on this webinar. We want your city to show up on this, and the central organizing team makes life very easy for you. So in spending 1 hour, you can suddenly, and no protest, no dharna, no confrontation, but in a very collaborative manner, in a way to surface the issue, we are trying to do these things. So these are modern methods of raising collective voice and bending the will of the political decision makers. So I encourage everyone from different cities to join this. There's a WhatsApp group. I'm sure Prikesh, you will share all that with them. But we have to figure it out together. There are a lot of creative ideas. There is this going live from a bus. There is taking selfies in the bus, taking your child to the bus. There are n number of things that we could all do.
Thanks, Shinu. I know we are at time, but we started at 6:05. So I take the next 4 minutes for the last question, which I'll first ask Suraj and then maybe Shweta and Shinu, you can also come in. There is a famous quote, which is, I think it's attributed to Bogota's former mayor. I don't know if he actually said it, but that's what internet says is a developed country is not where the poor drive cars. It's where the rich take public transport. Now that is a debate which in India we get to read a lot. Like I remember for a fact that when the BRT was launched in Delhi, there was an active campaign and there was a big turf war between car owners and bus owners. So how do we, even though one doesn't have to contribute to the narrative, like, let us get the actual number of buses first, and then we will talk about moving private vehicle owners on buses. But that fact still exists. What would it take actually for us to move private vehicle owners and car owners to start using buses? Suraj, I want to come to you first, and then after that, maybe Shweta and Shinu, you can add and we can close it. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So I'll build on what Shweta and Srinivas were talking about on how to touch right the citizens. So one active engagement that we have been having is on the Bus First campaign, looking at how to sensitize people on movement of public transport on roads. And along with that, like MTC had subsequently launched a set of campaigns which looks at like one of the initiatives called Chennai Ula, wherein they have launched buses that were there 50 years back, and they have refurbished it and put back on the roads to bring that feeling of nostalgia of having taken a ride through the streets of Chennai earlier. So such kind of campaigns, it builds onto the people's memory, right? And it touches to the people, okay, some service like this used to exist and it's being brought in again. And it's a very nominal fare also that they are charging. And there's a lot of uptake as well from people to get onto these buses. There's also this double-decker buses also that has been brought in as part of this campaign to, just experience the city in these buses. So it's a way that MTC is trying to, reconnect to the people, to bring that love and like past memory back, right? So I think like it's a good way to reach out to the people, and we should have more such initiatives that rather than pushing the agenda of doubling the buses, how we reconnect with the people on what is the aspiration for the good buses in road. Yeah.
Thanks, Suraj. Quickly on the same question, Srinu, from Bangalore point of view, it's a Silicon Valley. All these big IT companies are here in different IT parks, with a lot of them owning fancy cars. I'm sure things must have been tried to get people who work in these IT parks and own cars to switch to public transport. Or if it's not been done, what are the things that can be done? If you can add just in a couple of minutes, and then maybe Shweta, you can have the final word. Srini.
Yeah, first I want to say that a lot of IT fancy people who make a lot of money every month also take buses. Thousands of them. Thousands of them. One of the most profitable routes for Bengaluru's BMTC is the high-tech area. So it is a lot of, it's a fact that is often missed out. The airport AC bus, Vayu Vajra bus, carries about 15% of people to the airport. If there are 100 people going or coming to the airport, 15% of them are taking the bus. This is a very big number. It can be bigger, but it's a very big number. Almost 13,000 trips happen in the airport bus. And they're also paying a lot more than the regular bus. They're paying 300 rupees for a trip to airport, whereas a cab will cost you 1,000 rupees and a regular bus will cost you maybe a 60 rupees. So there is a lot of demand for buses in Bengaluru, even in the high income crowd. So what we're trying to do is to make bus more reliable and more predictable. If I'm sitting in Prestige Tech Park, if I take my car out of the parking lot to come to Outer Ring Road, it will take me minimum of 30 minutes from my own parking lot to my own road. Okay. But if I were to take a bus, I can just walk down and take a bus. It'll be much easier if I know that the bus left the last stop. So I can walk down, grab my bag, walk out as the bus enters. It'll be even more beautiful if I know how many seats are empty in that bus. So we're working towards these directions to predict the arrival of the bus, and in the future to predict the how packed is the bus or not. And using this kind of ticketing data analysis and all of that, we are also giving input to the bus corporation of how to add more buses during the peak hour, managing their routes and services schedules based on the ticketing analysis and what people are using and all of that. So there are many ways in which you can make bus very comfortable. Bus is a very safe mode of transport. We often underestimate that. In terms of safety, bus is one of the safest way of traveling in any city, given the road rage we have, given the quality of roads we have, and all kinds of speeding. There's a lot of speeding in Bengaluru. Everyone thinks Bengaluru is a traffic congested city, but we have every 2 days a pedestrian dies in Bangalore. Unfortunately, we have worst road safety record. So buses are answer to many of these things. Unfortunately, we are not able to convey it in a way that people are, getting into that. There's still a condescending mode. Okay, we'll get you some more buses type thing rather than this. So we have a long way to go, but these are you think of way of, on one hand, you demand for more buses. On other hand, you demand to make buses more reliable, more affordable, and more predictable. If you did that, the bus will always be there for me, and I know when it is coming, and it is safe, it's comfortable to sit in, and I feel like a great ride home. You combine both these things, you are going to see even more. Without any of these things, buses are full brickage. We know this. Buses are already packed. Why are we not making it more comfortable? So we have to work towards that. Some things are public campaign oriented, some things are research oriented and policy input oriented. We have to work on all fronts.
Thanks, Srinu. And finally, Shweta, last word, just in a minute or
Yes.
minute and a half, if you can. Yeah.
No,
And
no,
then
minute is
yeah.
good. So I think I just want to say that in all this, the way the bus service is positioning itself is sort of very important. I have said this before that why are none of our cities in a position where they can say that you come to our city and you will get a bus no matter where you are and it will take you to the place that you want to go to. So that kind of confidence and intentionality has to come from the bus service. And for that, all of this back work that Srinivas just mentioned, you have to have your data, you have to have your statistics, you have to know what the users want. All of this needs to go, and that is going to start with the intention of the bus service itself to say, or the city to say, that we want to build a world class bus service in our city. I think none of the cities so far can say that very confidently, that we are going to give you this. I think Chennai is doing great things, Bangalore is doing great things, but they are always in this apologetic mode that ha nahi thoda matlab yeah this that. So I think that has to go. You have to just say that buses are important and we'll give you this at the end of the day if you support us. So yeah.
Super. Thanks, Shweta, Suraj, Srinu, Divya, for for an enriching 1 hour. I'm sure a lot of people who joined today. There were around 90 odd people who joined, and most of them
We get a
have.
group photo.
Yeah, we need a
Rikesh.
group photo so others can also turn on the camera. For people who want to get involved, the social media handles have been shared on chat, so you can just follow either on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter, and we can connect and keep engaging. This is a movement which is completely collaborative, so multiple organizations and individuals are playing equal part in running this, and the more people join, the better it is. So thank you very much. And Karishma and Bhaskar, Swami, if you can just turn on the video as well, we can quickly take a group photo. Karishma, we're waiting for you.
No pressure.
Okay. All
We
right.
can't get the participants on, Brikesh. We're not
Huh?
able to see the participants.
No, I don't.
This is in the webinar format,
It's
so
a webinar
only
format, so
the
yeah.
speakers will be able to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and I hope to continue engaging with some of you on LinkedIn or other handles. And if any of you want to start this in your respective city or town, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to support you in every way possible. Thanks a lot.